going back to another chapter in your book, when I get an opportunity to work with, and we just talked a little bit around, what happens behind the back door, and there's talented leaders that are driven, but behind the back door, they're fighting stuff. Your chapter on manage your mental health, you know, it seems what is it that holds those high performing, talented leaders, he or she, from wanting to build that network to help support that? Like it seems so out there now in the media. What have you observed, or what have you bumped into?
It's just shame. It's shame. Like at the end of the day, in a world like there's a great interview we've got our site with Michael, one of the CEOs that we've worked with, who got into a really, really bad mental state because a number of things went wrong all at once in his company. And he talks about in his interview, he was a successful entrepreneur. He was in a rough patch. And he didn't really want to talk to his wife about it because it was about some financial stuff that had gone sideways. He was in a CEO group and it was part of his faith community. But he was used to being the guy that had it together, and he was the mentor and the advisor and the contributor to the community. And he wasn't used to showing up vulnerable and saying, I'm a mess and I need help. And what he said is, in his nature and his culture and his upbringing, it was kind of this stoic, we're good, we're good, I got it, we're good, we're fine. And so when you're not used to admitting that you're human and you are flawed and you have challenges and you need help on a regular basis, if that's not your MO of showing up, that's not your persona, to show up and like, I couldn't get out of bed this morning and I'm having horrible thoughts. And it's we all kind of have our own brand or a persona, and something that violates that is really hard, and harder for some people than others. But for driven people who are achievers and proud, it's for some, if you're not used to doing that, it's a terrifying thing to be open and vulnerable with people about that kind of stuff. Like it's really hard. And that's why I know so much about this from people, and most of what I hear, majority of 90% of the time, it's behind closed doors. People will talk about it openly, and some are comfortable talking about it publicly. And that's why I've talked to tens of thousands of people. I've done hundreds, well, at least 100 or so keynotes about the mental health part of that book.
Yeah.
To try and break the stigma. And in our companies, to try and break the stigma, because it happens to everyone. Right. It's called life. And it's not because you have a genetic issue, and it's not because you're weak. The strongest, most successful CEOs and executives and human beings, it gets them too. It's just a matter of too much stress at once. That's it. And your brain starts to melt down. That's it. It's not that different than spraining a muscle. If you're playing a sport, you're spraining your brain.
Right.
And so I know that. I talk about it openly. I talk about getting in the red zone and mental health. It's just really hard for people to do who are always, their persona is always having it together, which also was the earlier version of me. I'm in my 50s now. I'm like I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
I can be really good and I can be a mess, and I'm human, and it's okay. But that's not an easy thing for people. And I understand that. I said, in my 30s, I couldn't have done that. I was trying to be successful, if that makes sense, and trying to be someone. And now I'm like, but that's wisdom. Maybe it's relaxing. I don't know, whatever it is, it's really hard. And that's why we talk about it openly whenever we can.